we see Art's hopes of a win vanish.
Our replay from a gate earlier shows a bird strike hitting the tail of the plane, knocking a huge hole. This really is the first time that we've seen it this season. Look at the tail there. The bird has really almost gone right through it, and it's amazing that Art can still fly the plane.
Actually, I had a really good run. Then I had a bird strike. It ripped nearly my my elevator off, and that distracted me, and I was just off the line and had to go somehow to the quattro. I knew that it was like I was rolling too late, but I had no other choice.
Before the engine could be certified for flight, it had to be put through a battery of demanding tests.
The testing is to assure that the engine can fly in any environment safely. We look at any extreme environments and make the testing more severe than what you'll see in operation on an aircraft. We have water ingestion testing. We take in about 4.5 tons of water a minute and show that the engine can continue to operate and not stall, taking in that kind of volume of water. We also do hail ingestion testing. We have several little cannons that shoot hail into the engine. They shoot about 3/4 of a ton of hail in 30 seconds.
Nothing was left to chance. Technicians tried to recreate and analyze every possible problem that could happen to the engine.
An engine, when it's operating on an aircraft, takes in a lot of air. It can also take in anything else in the environment, such as a bird. So we're required per the FAA to shoot bird carcasses into the engine and to show that we can continue to sustain operation even after taking in the bird carcasses.
Terrifying emergency landing by a jumbo jet this afternoon. Passengers say they felt the whole plane tremble and shake, the cabin filled with smoke, as the pilot radioed in that the engine had been knocked out because of a collision with birds. It happened near the Hudson River in New York City, and ABC senior national correspondent Jim Avila is there with dramatic details.
This is the damage done. The engine that shut down on takeoff after taking a large bird into the teeth of the turbine. This picture obtained exclusively by WABC, and this video from the passenger as the plane limped back to JFK.
And Delta 1063 has had an engine failure on the right engine, declaring an emergency due to a bird strike. Departure Delta 1063, we have declared an emergency engine failure on the right engine. Request a visual return back to 13 right. New request, we'd like to do a visual to 22, please.
Delta 1063, and you're just going to go in visually?
Yes, ma'am. Delta 1063, that would be great.
That is the unbelievably calm, clear voice of the Delta captain in the middle of an emergency as he turns the plane around from JFK's runway 13 right on one engine and loops back to runway 22 right. There were 172 passengers, 7 crew members on board when the big 757 jet had to turn around. It was en route to Los Angeles. Here's one of the passengers.
Got off a flight 1063, Delta flight 1063, dude, that was the scariest thing I have ever done.
A flock of black birds hit the right engine, sounded like a Volkswagen Beetle being grinded through the engine. The flight then got disrupted in the air. I thought we were going to go down. And the next thing that happened was a smell came through the cabin.
Bird strikes happen all too often, more than 2,500 times at JFK alone since 1990, causing $600 million in damage worldwide and killing 219 people since 1988. Today's bird strike happening at the absolute worst time.
At takeoff, it's really the most risky part of the whole flight because you're heavy. The airplane is just trying to get away from the ground, and if you all of a sudden lose one engine, you now have lost half the thrust, half the ability of the aircraft to get into the air.
This pilot able to return safely to the airport, but of course today's incident is a chilling reminder of what happened when Captain Sullenberger had to fly his U.S. Airjet into the Hudson River. Today, another example of a pilot with cool, calm skill. Of course, this pilot had a couple of things going for him. First of all, he was close enough to return right to JFK, didn't have to come and land in a river like Sully did. The other thing that happened was, as you notice in that picture at the beginning of the piece, with the cone, the engine cone, the damage was confined to the inside, and none of those turbines, none of the fan broke through the engine itself and hit any of the hydraulics in the plane or in the wing. That was good news too. So a couple of things going for them today, making for a very close, but at least a safe call.
Ветер очень сильный. But we begin with that breaking news first. Fighter jets were scrambled when an airliner headed to Europe was forced to return to the U.S.
And thankfully, it turned out to be a false alarm, but the incident shows once again how on edge we've become about flying. Here's ABC's Jim Avila.
Tense moments over the Atlantic for a United Airlines jumbo jet heading from Newark to Geneva, Switzerland. An event that shows us just how on edge or how on alert airline crews are these days. Less than 2 hours into the flight, a flight attendant noticed a camera stuffed into the compartment on the back of an empty seat. After asking passengers if it belonged to anyone on board, the flight attendant told the pilot, who, according to the TSA, out of an abundance of caution, decided to turn around and, escorted by fighter jets, which is routine in this type of scenario, landed at the closest airport, Boston's Logan Field. There, passengers were rescreened and the camera inspected by security agents. Why would an abandoned camera cause this type of reaction, altering a flight, delaying passengers, and costing the airline thousands of dollars? We do know that security officials believe terrorists have been searching for new ways to get devices past the TSA, and intelligence officials believe the man behind the underwear bombing was trying at one time to develop a way to hide a bomb in a camera. This flight attendant and pilot thought they may have stumbled onto something, but it was nothing more than someone's now missing vacation pictures. In fact, United says they now have traced the errant camera to a passenger on an earlier flight aboard that same plane. Jim Avila, ABC News, Washington.
All right, thank you, Jim. And another airline scare, this one caused by one of those now infamous bird strikes. A United flight landed safely after colliding with a bird as the plane descended into the airport in Denver. Well, check it out. The impact actually tore a huge diamond-shaped hole right there in the nose of the aircraft, but there were no injuries on board. You just don't think a bird could puncture a plane. Am I the only one kind of stunned by the force of that?
I'm stunned. I can't believe it. I don't think when Captain Sully had to navigate his plane onto the Hudson River, I don't think we saw pictures of sort of that type of huge hole in the plane.
You think a plane would just kind of plow over a bird, but instead that bird kind of, it's amazing. So I'm not an engineer, so startling picture there.